The best new manga to read before 2026.
On this list
But it's
started
2026
before
now.
2024 or have
Does
more
that mean I
than
have to go to the
60
past?
chapters. And the best place
Build
to
a time
start is
machine?
with the new manga I am surprisingly excited about, Kaihen Wizards. This fantasy series follows the story
what?
of a boy who wakes up in a tower owned by one of the 7 colors. In this world, mana is split up into 7 kinds of magic, each represented by a different color. And
I want
our main
black.
character
Off
is
the
now
rip, I
in the
want
care
black.
of Zemu, the green wizard. The young boy loses his memories and can only remember that he's a prince from a mysterious flying kingdom. Now, with the help of the green wizard, the boy must learn the art of magic and regain his memories in order to learn more about his cataclysmic powers. The reason this manga is a must-read is because it's really not like anything else. It has a beautifully simple art style, and while it is a fantasy, this story stands out in the way it treats magic as something arcane that truly needs to be studied. Speaking of the story, probably the biggest reason this manga is so good is because of the characters. So far, the main character is a great example of the amnesia trope done right. And you meet a lot of characters early on, but each character feels different, and the writer knows exactly how to take their time fleshing each of them out in their own special way. Kaihen Wizards is only 27 chapters right now, due to a couple of long breaks, but this is a great fantasy story that you can catch up to right now before the start of the year. And if you're looking to start another fantasy series before
If you go on a break,
2026,
I probably
then
won't
you
catch
should
up.
definitely read The Journey of a Dark Elf with Fading Powers.
Journey of a
Basically,
Dark Elf,
think
Fading
Frieren, but
Powers.
in reverse. The story follows a dark elf who is the strongest living mage. That is, until her friend finds her roughing it in the wilderness and discovers that the dark elf has completely lost all of her mana and magic abilities. This manga only has 1 chapter out as I'm recording, but it's a really interesting first chapter with a fun premise. Plus, I was really drawn to this manga when I came across its cute art style over on X. So if you're looking for a fun fantasy manga that you can catch up to before the new chapters come out later this month, then you need to check out Dark Elf with Fading Powers. But if you don't want just another fantasy and still want something brand new, then you should check out Witch Riv. The story follows Nona in a world where witches are born with magic, but have to hide their abilities or be arrested and executed. She's discovered when the police torture the only friend she ever told about her powers, and is forced to leave her home behind after her mother saves her. Now Nona has to find as many witches as she can in order to save her mother before she's executed by the police. Witch Riv is not your typical fantasy story, and plays out more like a mystery thriller. Witches in this world are not in positions of power, and they have to hide and fight just to survive. There's only about 7 chapters out right now, but the story is intense, and there's already some interesting characters. So if you're looking to start a fantasy with more of a darker mystery edge, then definitely check out Witch Riv. But if you're looking for a much darker fantasy, then the first manga you should read on this list is Centauria. This manga follows the story of Julian, a slave who gets the powers of 100 people after his ship is destroyed in the ocean and he's saved by a sea god. With his new powers, he fights to protect his found family in a ruthless world of monsters and a ruling power that is dedicated to wiping him out. I have a longer review I made before, but I just caught up to the newest chapters, and somehow this manga got even better. It sells you on a beautiful blend of tragic characters and nightmarish, horrifying monsters. At the same time, Centauria is one of the most wholesome manga you can read. In between all of the terrifying monsters and gore, Centauria's main cast offers the kind of wholesome vibes that help it stand out as a relatively light-hearted story compared to other dark fantasies. But you also have the newest chapters where you can expect all kinds of cool powers used by new villains that you just want to see even more of. The series has been out for a minute, but it's still pretty underrated despite being the best new dark fantasy. So if you love Berserk and stories like that, then now is the perfect time to read Centauria before it starts its next arc. Now, if you're looking for a more lighthearted fantasy that also has plenty of action, there's still one more series that I'm saving for the end of the video. But if you're tired of the thousands of fantasy manga, then I recommend checking out some of the new sci-fi manga that are out right now. And the first one you should read is
sometimes
Hero
chat, you just want to watch an
Organization.
anime,
This
a manga
story is
character go to
perfect
work.
if you
You
love
feel me?
mecha anime and you're
Matter
looking
of
for
fact,
something new.
I want to watch
In this
a
series,
streamer
humanity
manga.
uses mechs to fight mysterious star beasts.
Like,
It starts
you know
with
what
an
I'm saying? Or
amazing
anime.
first
Or
chapter
read a
that I
streamer
don't want to
manga.
spoil because it ends on an incredible surprise ending. But all you need to know is that the present story follows a new recruit named Leonidas, who rises up in the government's academy as he trains to become a great pilot and expose the corrupt figures that are secretly manipulating the new world order. Admittedly, this series does have a slow start after the first few chapters, but it quickly picks up as we meet more characters and see them react to the growing threat of the government's corruption. So if you're interested in a mecha series with an exciting mystery driving the story, then you should read Hero Organization. But if you want something much darker, then I highly recommend Mad. I am not exaggerating when I say
Wait,
Mad
I read
is the
Mad?
single most slept on manga that's currently running. The story
I'll add it
follows
to the list.
John after an alien invasion wipes out almost all of humanity, and after an alien attack destroys his family, he finds himself in the protection of a mysterious military organization. But John soon realizes that there's more to the alien threat than he thought, as he slowly becomes humanity's last hope against a growing
The
cosmic
aliens turn people
terror.
into
Not
zombies,
only
or
is
are the
this
aliens
most
like zombie
intense
type
story
things
out
and they
of
eat
anything
people?
running in manga, but it's just an
No,
all-around
I'm
great
adding it.
story.
I'm adding it to the
art
list.
style
We will start
reminds you
reading
of
Mad.
Chainsaw Man and Jujutsu Kaisen. The characters
Yup.
are all great,
JJK and
including
Chainsaw Man
John, who gives
together.
you the kind of main character who fights to protect the good in the world as he slowly rebuilds his sanity. The best part is that this story moves fast, and you truly never know what's going to happen from one chapter to the next. It does get pretty dark, but if you're looking for what is probably one of the best sci-fi series I've ever seen, then Mad
Wait,
is
who's it by?
definitely a must-read.
This one
Now,
can't
if
be
you're
the
not
one-
really
you can't
into
be the one with
sci-fi, but you're still
the
sick of all the
dinosaurs and
fantasy
shit, right?
manga, then I also have a couple of crime thrillers, one of which is actually created by an animator from Jujutsu Kaisen. Phenomenon X is a manga that follows a
It can't be
cat-like
by
demi-human
Otiri
who is
Yusuke,
sick of the
right?
mountains of paperwork that she's forced to fill out
Different.
as a detective. But just before everyone else makes her quit, she comes across another detective who wants to help her solve a mysterious case of pyrokinetics.
Am I
It's
wrong?
a decent first chapter, but this is the kind of
No,
manga
it
that
is.
clearly
It
has
is.
room to grow in future chapters. The series only has one chapter right now, but it's a quick read and it's a solid introduction that deals with themes of dead-end jobs and the true darkness that can be found in solving bizarre mysteries. There will be more chapters soon, and like I said, it's made by one of the Jujutsu Kaisen animators and even comes recommended by Akutami. But as nice as Phenomenon X is, I definitely think K9 has a lot more potential. K9 follows the story of Ren, a hard-boiled woman who specializes
Oh
in
my
solving
God,
supernatural
Ren.
crimes in a world where sins
Are you loving
turn
my
into
life?
abilities. Her drive and accolades capture the attention of the Special Unit K9, a new unit dedicated to fighting sin abilities using their very own sin users. Ren is reluctant to join when she discovers her new partner
That
is
sounds
an
hard. Sin
ex-murderer,
abilities,
but quickly
sin
warms up to
users.
him as the two work together to solve super-powered cases and stop the
No.
growing threat of sins. The story
Yo,
definitely
we adding this
leans
to the
more
list
into
too,
the
chat.
action than the detective element,
reading
but
this
it
too,
balances
chat.
both while introducing some fun characters.
Let me save
Speaking of
Mad.
characters, K9 has a great main cast, but it does more hinting at backstories than
K9.
actual telling of those stories. So while you do learn about these characters through their interactions, the author
Wait,
is
not
clearly
called
saving
K9,
these
like K9 like
backstories for
dog?
later in the manga. There's still only about 30 chapters, but these characters are off to a good start and have a lot of room to grow. But I also love the manga that don't have a ton of action, which is why I had to include at
was
least
that
one
called?
good romance manga on this list. In fact, Fall in Love must read. Now, if you're not really into sci-fi, but you're still sick of all the fantasy manga, then I also have a couple of crime thrillers, one of which is actually created by an animator from Jujutsu Kaisen. Phenomenon X is a manga that follows a cat-like demi-human who is sick of the mountains of paperwork that she's forced to fill out as a detective. But just before everyone else makes her quit, she comes across another detective who wants to help her solve a mysterious case of pyrokinetics. It's a decent first chapter, but this is the kind of manga that clearly has room for animators and even comes recommended by Akutami. But as potential, K9 follows the story of Ren, a hard-boiled woman who specializes in solving supernatural crimes in a world where sins turn into abilities. Her drive and accolades capture the attention of the special unit K9. Had to include at least one good romance manga on this list. In fact, Fall in Love, You False Angels is a surprisingly good romance that started this year. Basically, it's about two characters, Otogi and Toki, who play out these goody-goody personas as their class president.
That's what I don't care about.
More
Let's skip
welcoming
that.
to
Let's skip
talk
that.
about everyone's favorite kind of manga, the Battle series. And I'm actually going to start with the series outside of Shonen Jump. Kindled Spirits is a new Kodansha manga that blends a little bit of everything. It's a battle series with comedy, romance, Japanese folklore, British imperialism, and sci-fi. The characters are interesting enough and it has a promising premise, but the story is definitely weird and isn't for everyone. That being said, the characters are finally being fleshed out, and the story clearly has potential. So if you love Battle Shonen and you're looking for a series that's different from everything else, then definitely give Kindled Spirits a chance. But Kodansha's best new battle series is undoubtedly Galaxius. This manga is basically the perfect blend of fairy tale and One Piece. It follows Narade and Geo as they jump
K9
from
loaded up,
kingdom
chat.
to kingdom, exploring the absurd world
if she's the
of
main
dragon
character,
knights and trying to solve
I'm in love.
the mystery
I'm reading
of the
every
lost
chapter.
hero, Yuri Hulst. The characters have insanely cool powers, and they're incredibly well written. The story—
Wait, what's the last one?
And sci-fi. The characterism and sci is a new Kodansha
Kindle Spirits. All right,
manga
bet. Locked in.
Yuri
Locked in.
Hulst. The characters
We got
have
3 new animes.
insanely cool powers, and they're incredibly well written. The story is driven by a thrilling mystery. The art is impossibly good, but more than anything, this manga has a sense of adventure that reminds you of all of the best 2000s manga. And that's why even though it only has 30 chapters, Galaxius is already one of the best ongoing manga. But it still has plenty of competition from the legendary Hiromu Arakawa and her newest manga, Demons of the Shadow Realm.
How many
This is a
mangas does she
manga for
have? I
anyone
was trying
who
to
loves
look into this
Fullmetal
yesterday,
Alchemist,
but I
is
forgot.
also interested
It
in a
slipped my
story
mind.
that's closer to Shaman King or Zatch Bell. The main characters Yuru and Asa control spirits known as demons or yomi that each have a must read. So if you
I think it's crazy how it already has its own anime.
Starts this spring,
Like,
now
they
is
didn't
the
waste
best
no
time
time
to
giving
read
Shorty her
this
own anime.
series. But to end the list, we still need to talk about Shonen Jump's best new weekly series, one of which is Kagurabachi. You may have heard of it from the memes, but it is anything but a joke. Kagurabachi is an incredible story full of cool characters and badass fights between swordsmen and sorcerers. Basically, take all of the best parts of Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen and add a cinematic art style unlike any other series, and that's Kagurabachi. The main character Chihiro starts out kind of edgy, but quickly turns into a wholesome character that just wants to find the good in people and protect his father's legacy against ruthless assassins and corrupt bureaucrats. So far, the series is regularly praised by fans for its insanely gorgeous panels, as well as character expression that feels less like a manga and more like an animated story. Plus, everyone really likes the villains, especially this guy, who will definitely blow up during the anime. It is kind of surprising that the anime still hasn't been announced, but considering the growing fan base and the fact that the current chapters are at their best, you can expect Kagurabachi to get an anime announcement sometime next year. But the one manga that might get an anime announcement even sooner is Ichi the Witch. This series has a ton of hype surrounding it.
Yeah, Ichi
and for
already
good
has one.
reason.
I don't think
Its artist
Kagurabachi
drew
has
Act
an
Age,
anime
and
yet.
the writer is
Still,
also the
why does
creator of
it not have an anime yet?
Together,
It makes zero
this
sense.
power team has created what can only be described as
Why are we
the
getting
best
everything else?
fantasy manga in Shonen Jump. The main character,
Its own
Ichi,
enemy.
is a refreshing take on the shonen
Like the best things
protagonist.
don't have
His
enemy.
mentor is the world's strongest witch with a sad backstory. And the story also centers around a villain with one of the coldest introductions I've ever seen. The art style is gorgeous and balances amazing paneling, cool character designs, and hilarious character expressions. The fights are awesome, the emotional scenes are heavy, and the story is simply addicting. It's a fun series that anyone of any preference can enjoy, which is why it's not only my favorite new manga, it's one of Shonen Jump's most promising stories. And that's why, in addition to all of these manga, Ichi the Witch is something you have to check out before the year ends. But on that note, now you have the 15 best new manga, all from different magazines
And now we have the
genres.
15
Make sure
best
to
new
read
mangas.
each of these manga for yourself,
And I chose
before
4 to
the year
read.
ends.
So,
that way, in 2026,
I gotta stack up followers
you
and
can
viewers.
start the new year
We can start
with a
this.
great
We
list
go
of
crazy.
exciting new manga.